Let's talk about responsibility, because as the holiday is approaching, something that very often comes up, and again, I'm witnessing it and also experiencing it, coming up is responsibility. And responsibility is a funny size because it can play tricks on us. And some things we are responsible for, definitely, but some things we might actually not be responsible for, even though we tend to feel that we are. So I want to ask you to bring to mind something that's weighing on you, some kind of responsibility that feels a bit heavy for you right now, and then look at it with absolute honesty and ask yourself, do I have responsibility for this? Do I feel responsible for it? Or do I take responsibility for it? It's not the same. We have three different kinds of feeling responsible or being responsible. We can be responsible, we can feel responsible, and we can take responsibility. And sometimes our minds kind of tell us that we have responsibility, even though we do not have it. So one thing that you can do, if you have this example, you look at it through these three lenses. Do I have it? Do I feel it? Or do I take it? And then you ask yourself, what do I think the consequence is of not taking it, not feeling it, or not having it? So if that comment takes you to something that's threatening, maybe it's not your responsibility. Maybe you are making yourself feel responsible for something that you do not actually have responsibility for. It could be that your parents are experiencing a lovely evening, so you overwork yourself, you overextend yourself to try to make sure that they're having a lovely evening. And there's nothing wrong with wanting people to have a lovely evening. But there's a difference between wanting to contribute to it or taking responsibility for it. In this case, I have tried this so many times, feeling responsible for other people's experience. And I'm sure that you have too. So please try to see if there's something weighing on you. Try to play around with these things and ask yourself, what if I didn't? If I did not take responsibility for them having a really wonderful evening, then what? Then they will not have a wonderful evening and they will blame me? Maybe. Then the whole atmosphere would not be so good and it would be a bad evening for me. Maybe. That's less of a threat, I think. Often, for people, that's less of a threat when it's a bad evening for me than if it's a bad evening for them. Try to see what happens. Try to investigate it through these three lenses and see where it brings you and what kind of threat there might be at the background of this. It could also be, if I don't bring really nice presents for everyone, I'm going to disappoint people. If I don't do the most amount of work with the table setting, getting dinner ready, making sure that all our traditions are upheld and followed, then I'm not a good enough daughter, sister. Could be anything. Try to investigate it through these three lenses and be aware that sometimes the threat will convince you that you have responsibility, even though you don't. You're feeling it and you're taking it, but you don't have it. And sometimes you can take responsibility and know that it's not your responsibility. You don't feel the responsibility and you don't have it, but you take it. That's also fine if you're not overextending yourself. You get the drift. If you have something weighing on you, look at it through these lenses, and maybe you don't have to work that hard. Maybe it's okay to just participate and give a part of it, because of course everybody contributes to a good atmosphere in a group. But maybe it's not all on your shoulders. Look at it.